One of the things that this film highlights is that actually Canada does not have the economy or the facilities, not just at the university or the college level, but just as a country or in its different cities and towns to accommodate the number of Indian students that they're taking in. So there is not enough housing, and a lot of these students from overseas are cramped up in small apartments, and 4 or 5 of them. Could you tell us more about that?
Canada is a country that has been experiencing stunted growth, economic growth over the years, I think since 2015 or 16 or so. In fact, there's a very interesting statistic that we found that since 2016, the number of unemployed Canadians with a bachelor's degree or higher education has always exceeded the number of vacant positions. So there's always going to be a mismatch. There was no way that in the coming years this could have been sort of drastically met. Even more interesting is the fact the number of unemployed Canadian-born individuals, they far exceed the vacant jobs available at all education levels. So this is something that needs to be established, needs to be reiterated, needs to be reminded that perhaps there are not enough jobs.
So what you're saying is that the Canadian population itself has too many unemployed individuals at high education levels, that for Indians to go there aspiring for a job at a certain level is going to be next to impossible. Is that the case? That Indian students are not going to get the kind of jobs that they think they're going to do in Canada?
Absolutely. I think that's a better way to put it. There is going to be a massive mismatch. One needs to be, of course, not just mentally prepared, but needs to take into account the right measure, maybe applying for the right universities, the right departments, right faculty members, with those opportunities. I would also like to highlight the fact, something that was also just being spoken about. Several studies have pointed out that universities are not able to provide the services that they should be providing in terms of opportunities. Of course, in Western countries, we don't have the idea of placements coming in as such, but even basic services, even just sort of bringing in that connect between the industry employers and the students is somewhere absent. Just to give a basic example, in 2018-19 in British Columbia, universities and colleges had a surplus of $340 million just from international student fee tuitions. So you're getting a lot of money from one chunk of students, but you're not able to provide services that these students want.
Yeah, so, and I think speaking of those services, one of the most shocking aspect that was shown in the documentary was actually Vrinda's case, where she mentioned that actually a lot of the Indian students were bunched up together and their classes were happening in a cinema theatre close by, because the university or the college where they were did not have the space to provide them appropriate classrooms. Let's just listen into Vrinda on that experience and more, why the Canadian experience turned out to be a bit of a dampener for her, and she actually left Canada and came back to India. Listen in.
यहाँ पर मतलब हमें एज अ कम्युनिटी साइड अलग करके रख देते हैं. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, लेट मी गिव यू एन एग्जाम्पल ऑफ व्हाट आई एम सेइंग. सो दे मेक अस स्टडी एट द Cineplex theater. We attend our classes in the movie halls, movie theater यहाँ पर. Because कि यहाँ पर जो यूनिवर्सिटी ने इतना बड़ा इन्फ्लक्स ले लिया, उनके पास जगह ही नहीं है कि वो यूनिवर्सिटी में हम अकोमोडेट करें. तो ये सारी चीजें भी काफी शॉकिंग होती है जब यहाँ पर आकर पता चलती है. Once you get there and you are promised by your immigration consultant agents that you are going to get a field job in the field that you are going to be studying. So I took healthcare management because, as they say, that there is a demand of healthcare workers in the Canadian healthcare system. But once you get there and you realize that there is a lack of skilled jobs for the healthcare workers. When I say skilled jobs, I was studying healthcare management. So I wanted to get into the administration part of the healthcare sector. There are job levels of NOC A, B, C, and they're divided into the skill sets. So NOC C jobs are mostly the ones which you get in a healthcare setting, which is basically called a home healthcare worker or a patient sitter, which is almost equal to the job of a nanny, of a babysitter or of an elder sitter, a nanny's job. So that is not really a skilled job because I'm studying management aspects in my course, and then I get a job which doesn't match my skill set. So that is also very disappointing because you're only stuck at a minimum wage job.